So Jenna, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
State your full name for the record.
Jenna Walsh.
I've always wanted to say that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a native Arizonan. I was born and raised here. We left for a couple of years chasing my husband's career, moved around to Colorado and Texas, but we came back as soon as we could because I missed it. So as I said, I'm a wife. I've got a husband of 11 years. I've got 3 kids, ages 10, 9 this week, and 7.
So that's one of the things that I wanted to get into. How do you manage this crazy business while being a full-time mom of not older kids, like younger kids? They're demanding of your time and they need a lot from you, and being an awesome wife at the same time.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely a balance. So I feel like I work really hard. I try to be really efficient. So when my kids are in school, I'm in the office or I'm out with clients, I'm doing showings, I'm trying to do my inspections and all that kind of stuff during those hours. And then from there, I fit real estate into the nooks and crannies of my life. So for instance, tomorrow I have to go with a client to blue tape on their new build home that they're doing. My son also has a birthday party for a friend, so I'm gonna drop him off at his birthday party. I'm gonna go meet with my clients, do some blue tape, and then I'm gonna be back in time to pick my son up from the birthday party. And it's the same thing during the week. It's just trying to fit it into where I can, we meal plan and know what we're doing in advance for the week. Same thing with my kids' schedule, same thing with my work. I'd kind of plan out what I want my weeks to look like and just fit everything into the pockets where I can. So my kids are great. They're understanding and they are supportive and they know that this is my job. And so when we're doing homework, I say, hey, give me 10 minutes, I gotta make a phone call real quick. They can read and they understand that, and then I'll go make a call, and then I'm back and I can be present and attentive with them.
That's the best thing. Like, we train our kids in this business
Yes.
to where we're driving in the car
Yep.
and it's like the second you're like this, they know.
Quiet,
Just like,
yep.
I better be quiet,
Yes, yeah.
So no, I totally can relate to that. So how'd you find our team?
Well, Brandon, you helped us with selling our second home that we ever lived in, and that was our first family home. You were awesome to work with. That was 9 years ago. So since then, a lot of life has happened. Within that time, we moved to Colorado and Texas, as I mentioned, then we came back, and we've moved 9 times in 10 years.
Yeah.
So that kind of is what led me to, I kind of like this home buying, selling process. It's kind of fun. I understand it definitely from the consumer side. And so that was kind of the process that jump-started me into wanting to do this full time.
Yeah, awesome. And I didn't even know you guys were back in town. Mm-hmm. I was scrolling social media and
Yes.
saw that you were an agent.
Yes.
And hit you up, and I'm like, hey,
Yes. And
how's the business going?
Yeah, and that was great. And then, you found out I was in town, and you invited me to talk to some agents here who are also moms, which was super helpful for me. Just being able to know other moms can do this. I'm pretty efficient. I think I can probably try it and see how it goes for me too.
Yeah, awesome. So then, I would say, how organized of a person would you say that you are, and how much do you stick to an actual schedule?
I would call it a fluid schedule. So I definitely have to put everything on my calendar. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Actually, for instance, this week, my husband told me, he's like, oh, we have our dinner on Saturday. And I'm like, what dinner? And he's like, the one that I talked about. I'm like, did you text me the information like I asked you to? Because it's not on my calendar. So it definitely has to be on the calendar. But then within there, knowing okay, it's 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, I don't have anything going on. I know that I can talk to this client now, and if I have to run out and do a showing real quick, my kids are home, we've already finished dinner, I can run out and do that real quick. So a fluid schedule, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. That's all. You definitely have to be flexible in this
Yes,
business.
yeah.
So, one of the things that I'm most excited about for you and your family and I wanted to get into this, is your execution on getting into real estate investing.
Yes, I am so glad we finally did it. I wish we would have started sooner. And now, actually, like, I just went to lunch with my 17-year-old niece the other day, who's probably going to be going to U of A for college. And I'm telling her now, like, okay, you can do your first year in your dorms, but after that, you're going to buy a house. So start saving your money now, and then you're going to rent out your rooms. Like, if I know what I know now and we'd started 10 years ago, it would be such a different perspective. We're doing great, but it'd just be like, I just wish we would have started sooner. And so it's just so fun, I think, investing in real estate. I think there's so many opportunities there, and it's never too late to start. And I think it's also like, it's real estate. On average, it's typically going to go up over time. I think it's the best investment that anybody can do, and I'm telling everybody I can. I was talking to a client yesterday. She tells me she has a house. She has so much equity in it. She would love to keep it. I'm like, then keep it. Rent it out. Make it work. We can buy something else and rent this out.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite conversations with clients, is like when you're trying to talk them out of selling their house, to build long-term wealth. And,
Yes.
and a lot of people don't have the means to do it. They need the money, but the ones that do, it's fun to help them open that door of like possibility for them.
Yes.
So how many houses do you guys have now?
We have 4.
Gotcha. And
Yes.
your rental properties, when did you buy your first one?
Our first one, actually, we bought in 2000. I actually bought in 2010. It was right before I met my husband, and it's been a rental since then. And then we started buying, homes for us, and that was a lot of our moving. And we couldn't keep all those because we needed the funds to buy the next house. And then we got into a position where we could do it. So we finally got into what I'm hoping and praying is going to be our forever home that we built. And so after that, once we were settled there, then we started our real estate investing journey, which really got fired up this year. So in January, we bought one home. In February, we bought a second home, which needed some work on it. And then we closed on our 4th home, but 3rd home for this year, beginning of June.
Yeah, awesome. And I think what you're doing motivates me. So it's like, oh, Jenna bought one, I gotta buy one, and then you're like, oh, Brandon bought one, I gotta buy one, so.
You just bought one, so now I gotta go tell my husband, like, all right, we gotta get that next one going.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And so what's your goal for your investing? Like, do you have a number of units that you want? Do you have like, because for us as agents, obviously, I think the biggest thing is like, we don't have a typical retirement. So it's our exit strategy, and down the road when we're ready to retire. But what's your goal for like number of units? How long are you going to continue to invest, and what's your plan for you and your family?
So goal for our family this year is to get to 5 units that we've bought in 2022. So we're at 3. We have 2 more to go. We've got a few more months to do it, but we're always just keeping our eyes out, seeing what we can find, and going from there. We said after we got to 5, we would reevaluate and possibly re-game plan, different strategy, kind of see what we're thinking, how everything's going. So, but our goal is to get units every year. We would love to hand this off to our kids. We've actually, our investment company LLC name is actually our kids' initials. So we have that, and they go with us. Like our first 2 properties that we got here were a lot of rehab, and they were there with us cleaning it out and meeting the contractors there who were doing the work, and we'd stop by on our way after school. And so they're very invested, and we tell them, like, we're doing this for you guys, so one day when you're out of high school or college, like, you have a business ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's fun, like, getting your kids involved, taking them with you to that. It's like, then they start watching all the house flipping shows and stuff like that. And I was like, we're not flipping these, we're hanging on to them, but it is, I like how you guys get the kids involved in all that too. So, okay. So you've been in the business going on 3 years.
Yes.
You got into the business when the market was, just taking off, getting crazy. We're experiencing COVID and the pandemic and all that. So you haven't experienced a normal market until now and what we're experiencing. What would you say, the biggest change has been for you from when you first got licensed until going into year 3 now?
Yeah, I am so excited going into this new market. The last 2 years in this market have been nuts, and so I am so excited to now. One of my favorite thing about real estate is when I get to give the keys to my clients who I've been helping go through this process of buying their home. And so for me, there are many times where we've bid way above list price on homes and my clients didn't get it. And to me, that's just heartbreaking. Like, we did everything we could. Like, in a normal market, there's no reason you shouldn't have gotten this house. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to help buyers get into homes. And I'm working with 2 buyers right now, and we're slightly under list price, and sellers are helping them pay for some of their closing costs. And it just feels so good to be able to help people in such a way that's going to impact their life.
Yeah, the return of a normal real estate market.
Yes,
So
yes.
I think it's good. It's neutral. Everybody wins.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be in real estate for sure.
Yes, yeah,
So,
for sure.
I know what you love about the business. Tell me the craziest story that you've experienced up to this point.
Oh, man. I don't know if I want to talk about this. So, how about a fraudulent client who we didn't figure out was fraudulent until post-closing? So, I got this lead, went and showed the husband a home. I met him. He's a legit person.
So real people.
Real people.
Yeah.
I met a real person with this name. Behind the scenes, maybe everyone doesn't share this, but I went and I stalked him. I Googled him. I found him. I looked up their property that they told me they were selling in northern Arizona. Like, legit people have a home. Everything he told me checked out. His wife wanted to write an offer on this home. I did not meet the wife, but I did Google her as well and found her on Facebook, all the things. So we write an offer on this home. They told me they were paying cash. I told them I needed a proof of funds to present with my offer. They presented me with a proof of funds, and I just kind of had a feeling like this seems a little bit weird. So, I showed it to a couple agents. They said, yeah, that's a legit proof of funds. It just looked weird because it had like this big ad in the middle. I was like, okay, wrote an offer, got it accepted. We went under contract. We went to get our earnest deposit. They submitted their earnest deposit money with title. It took us about 8 to 10 days to get that earnest deposit. Unfortunately, in this case, the sellers were using a flat fee agent who isn't on top of things as much as you or I would be.
Did they ever even notice what was going on?
No,
Yeah.
not at all. Had no clue the entire time that was going on, and I just was like, man, like, this is why we do what we do and why we're good at what we do, to protect our clients' interests. So, we're now 2 weeks into the process. We've done our inspection. They paid for the inspection.
Wait, what happened with the earnest money?
Well, at this point, we still don't have the earnest money. It finally shows up after we've done inspection, after we've submitted our BINSR. Earnest money shows up. Title says, great, we have our earnest deposit. Well, what was happening behind the scenes that I didn't know at the time is that when title went to deposit that earnest money, within, I think it was like 48 hours later, they got it back saying, hey, this came back as unlocated account. So she's like, no, run it again. So they ran it again, and unfortunately, it took another 48 hours for that money to come back. So now we're into our 3rd week.
And excuse after excuse after excuse.
Yes.
Like, don't forget about the car crash.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Right?
So they didn't. They were supposed to meet me at the inspection, and unfortunately, there was a motorcycle accident on their way home. They couldn't make it. Another time, a glass bottle had exploded in the husband's face, and they were in the emergency room. Another time, when they were supposed to meet me, there was snow on the roads in Arizona, mind you, in, I think, March, and they couldn't make it down. Another time, she got into a car accident, and her earnest deposit check got soaked from the car accident, and she had to go drive back another day, and then she was going to come again. So it was so weird, because it was obviously, after the second story, it's like, this isn't right. Like, the stories you're telling me don't add up, but everything I checked out about these people, their home, their jobs, it was all real. Like their story was real, but them buying the home was not real. So it was very weird because obviously I always want to like trust my clients and what they're telling me and help them reach their goals and buy their homes, but it was just so weird.
I think the craziest thing about that story was the when they got in the car accident, they send you a picture of their crashed car,
Yep.
and we do a Google search on it in Google Images,
Yep.
and it's
There it
it's
is.
the exact same image from like 5 years ago. It was
Yep.
posted in Google as an image from like 5 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's a crazy thing about our business, and then you never get any answers. It's like we never figured out
No.
what was the deal with that client, like
Yeah.
what was their motive. Like they just kind of disappeared.
Yep.
So yeah, you take the good with the bad for sure,
Yes.
and you keep a positive mindset, and
Yes.
you just keep moving along.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Well, awesome. Hey, thanks for doing this, spending the time. I think it's awesome for everyone to get to know you and see a little bit about what it's like to be a working mom, a dedicated real estate agent, and just an all around awesome person. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yep.